Child, so it looks like Diddy might be heading into bankruptcy faster than we thought, because he just lost over $100 million in an SA lawsuit. And word on the street is, Usher's court testimony has a lot to do with him losing the case. Usher was one of Diddy's victims, and the crazy part is, Usher was just 14 years old when Diddy was forcing him to join his freak-off parties and become his little boy toy. Apparently, Diddy lured 14-year-old Usher into his dark world by telling him he was gonna mentor him into becoming a superstar. But all he ended up doing was traumatizing, misusing his body for his own degenerate fantasies, and even infecting Usher with an STD. In fact, Usher tried to tell us about all the traumatic things that Diddy put him through at such a young age. But it wasn't until everything came out that people started connecting the dots and taking him seriously. Okay, so for those of y'all wondering why Usher was even in Diddy's possession at such a young age and why Usher's parents didn't step in to protect him, well, it turns out that Diddy convinced Usher's mom that he was gonna mentor him into a Hollywood star. There are reports that the reason why she allowed Diddy to take him was because at the time, Usher was suffering some serious vocal issues, and a lot of labels didn't have interest in signing him. Diddy got word of the situation and decided to step into Usher's life like a saving angel and taking him under his wing. Since Usher and his mom were desperate at the time to get him signed, his mom had no choice but to trust Diddy and to take her son to his Puffy Flavor camp to mentor him in hopes that he would be a star.
Usher went to stay with Puffy. Now that was a business decision right there, because I didn't know Puffy. I didn't know him.
Now, for those of y'all wondering how Diddy got word about Usher's situation, well, that's because Usher got introduced to Diddy by L.A. Reid. Once Diddy got introduced to Usher, he became aware of his predicament and decided to take advantage of him. At just the age of 14, Usher moved all the way to New York to live with Diddy. And in case you're wondering if he was living with Diddy in the same house that these infamous freak-off parties were going on in, then you guessed right, because it was the exact same house. Usher saw everything Diddy was doing and even participated in it at just 14 years old.
To New York City. And I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's
Camp.
what it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In the 90s. Do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop.
Curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to. And your parents
Jodeci,
were
Mary
okay?
J. Blige, they didn't know nothing about this.
Oh.
I was having a good time, you know what I mean?
Does he have you doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 in the morning with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
When he was asked if he would ever allow his kids to go to Diddy's Flavor Camp, he said no.
You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
See? Child, the fact that Usher was so traumatized, he would never even entertain the idea of allowing the diddler to mentor his kids makes you know how insane those years of his life with Diddy had to be. But it gets even worse, because shortly after people started digging into Diddy's creepy history with Usher, they found this disturbing video of Diddy slipping up in the middle of an interview and revealing intimate details about how he and 14-year-old Usher would share the same bed every night.
My brother right here from day one, we used to wake up and, damn, pause, but like that's how, back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flakes, you know?
This was very disgusting, because what business does a 40-year-old man have sleeping in the same bed as a 14-year-old boy he's supposed to be mentoring? Make it make sense. What's even crazier is that the creepiness did not stop there, because back in 2005, Usher had everybody side-eyeing Diddy again when he made some interesting comments during his Essence magazine cover story about Diddy's infamous freak-off parties. According to Essence magazine, Usher was okay during the interview, but as soon as he was asked the details about what he saw at those Diddy parties, he got visibly nervous and said some unexpected things. He revealed that the things that he went through in that house were really bad, and that he would only ever talk about it when he's ready to write a tell-all book. He said, "I want to save some stuff for my book one day. I'll put it this way, there was a lot of X. People were a little scared scared for Usher when he said this, because everyone who's ever tried to write a book about Diddy has always ended up dead. Erica Kennedy wrote a book about Diddy and she was found dead in her home a few months later. Kim Porter was also writing a tell-all book about him, and she was found dead too. And while we on the topic of Kim Porter's book, let me just tell y'all about a disturbing email from one of the publishers who was helping in writing the book that's been going viral online. According to the publisher, Kim's book went into full detail about how Diddy used to force Usher to get intimate with him and even infecting Usher, who was still just 14 years old at the time, with an STD. The email also revealed that Usher's mom, Johnetta, wasn't aware that Usher was being manhandled by Diddy in all them freaky ways, till she found out her son was in the hospital with an STD. She reportedly went off on Diddy and they had an explosive fight about it. The email read, "Some of the things in the book cover Diddy's gay relationships, footage of those encounters, the men he slept with, STDs, Diddy giving Usher an STD, and the explosive encounter between Diddy and Usher's mom." Now, in case y'all wanting to know the exact STD Diddy infected Usher with, well, I think we might have an idea. Because back in 2017, Usher was sued by a woman who claimed he infected her with herpes. According to her, Usher exposed her to herpes during their encounters, and that he didn't tell her that he had been diagnosed with herpes in 2009. She claimed she tested positive after experiencing symptoms and reading online reports of Usher's alleged diagnosis. Now, even though Usher was clearly he's had a really hard time outright saying what he went through, but word on the street is he's done staying quiet, and he might have played a role in Diddy recently losing $100 million in one of his SA lawsuits that was filed by a prison inmate whose name is Derek Leo Cardello Smith. Derek claims that Diddy and SA'd him during a party in Detroit back in 1997. Apparently, this party was one of Diddy's freak-offs, and Diddy actually SA'd Derek while Derek was in the middle of a freak-off with another woman. According to court documents, Diddy allegedly touched Derek's box while Derek was having sex with one of the women and offered him a drink. Derek reportedly said in the complaint that he began feeling drowsy and started to pass out, and later awoke to found himself bleeding in pain. He claims to have filed a police report following the incident, but it remains unclear what came of it. Later, when Derek saw Diddy and all of the victims coming out, he decided to join in and file a $100 million lawsuit against Diddy for the SA. Derek also claimed that Diddy and his entourage made a few visits to jail to threaten him to drop that lawsuit, but he was standing 10 toes down and he refused. At some point, Diddy reportedly even offered him $2.3 million to drop that lawsuit, but again, he refused. He said Diddy specifically uttered the words, "You know how we get down," to which he clapped back, "Well, I disagree with how you get down," and rejected the settlement offer. Apparently, Diddy was trying to sell off all his properties and put money in offshore accounts so that when he's proven guilty for SA, he wouldn't have to pay a dime. But Derek's $100 million lawsuit was getting in the way of him being able to sell any of his properties at all. A judge later issued an order restraining Diddy from selling off his assets that could help him cover any damages possibly awarded to Derek Cardello Smith. And guess what? Derek actually won the case because Diddy failed to show up to the court hearing, which automatically led Derek to win with a default judgment. As if that ain't messy enough, there's now word going around that Usher was allegedly the one paying for Derek's legal fees, and that he may have secretly testified against Diddy in court. Now, there's not a credible source to back any of this up, but the case is far from over since Diddy and his lawyers are still fighting the default judgment. So there's gonna be way more information coming out very soon. As usual, people have their own thoughts about this, like this person who said, "You have to remember, Usher was a child when it happened. If he was brave enough to tell his mom then, that's one thing. But if Usher kept it to himself, that's something else. Now that Usher is grown, he's realized that he was manipulated as a young teenager." Another person said, "Diddy is about to start saving money, transferring assets, and go bankrupt." But now I want to know your thoughts. What do y'all think about Diddy losing over $100 million? And do y'all think Usher was really involved in this case? Y'all been knew what to do. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And don't forget to click here to watch this other very messy video.